Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
9 minutes before 8, we'll come back to our conversation persuading people the vaccination is perfectly safe to take. If your elderly relative, if someone you know or love has the opportunity, make sure they go and get that vaccination. And in part of that conversation, let's bring into the conversation Vaccine Minister Conservative MP Nadhim Zahawi, who joins me now. And I want to start by saying, Minister, as I said to your colleague Matt Hancock, we've had some bumps in the road along the way, but congratulations to you and all your colleagues. You hit the target, so well done to you and everybody who's worked so hard. You're being set some pretty impressive or pretty forbidding targets now. 1 million a day jabs the Prime Minister's talking about. Is that doable, Minister? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. So the infrastructure we've built, whether it's hospital hubs, the primary care networks, the vaccination centres, pharmacies, can deploy at much higher levels. So 2 Saturdays ago, we got to touching 1,000 jabs a minute. So actually, the limiting factor is vaccine supply, which remains finite, but we have strong visibility now all the way through to end of March and into April. And I'm confident we'll hit the target. It's a big target. We're doubling the rate almost in the next sort of 10, 11 weeks to what we've done in the previous 10, 11 weeks, because we've got to get to 32 million people who would have had at least one dose. And of course, within that, those who would be due their second dose will also get their second dose. Importantly, this is the first week, Nick, where we've been able to send out to GPs, to primary care and to hospitals, their 3-week plan. So they can plan 3 weeks ahead and begin to make those appointments. Obviously, last week of this month in hospital hubs for the second dose, and then first week of next month, second dosing as well. So they'll do first dose and second dose. Big challenge, but I'm confident that we've got the team. You spoke to the brilliant Brigadier Phil Prosser, which I loved your interview with him
Thank
yesterday.
you, Minister.
Humble and focused.
What a great bloke. What a great bloke.
Great man. And it's a privilege to work with him every day. So we have an incredible team, and I'm confident we'll deliver this.
Minister, just help me, because this fantastic target of 15 million has been attained within a matter of weeks. To get to 32 million, you're better at maths than I, that's effectively doubling it. But you require all of March and possibly all of April. Why, if we're getting to 1,000 a minute, which is another great success story for the government, why will it take more than 2 months to almost double the numbers?
So you've got first dose, and then also you're starting second dose. You're doing both. That's part of the challenge. And then, of course, vaccine supply at the moment remains finite. It's in good shape. It's stabilizing. We're getting less issues in terms of, you remember you and I talked about a few weeks ago at the start of this, when I embarked on this campaign about batch testing and what does it mean and how does it work. That's becoming much more stable, which is great. We start getting other vaccines coming through as well, with Moderna and then Novavax, hopefully, if it gets through the regulatory procedure, but it's looking good. So I'm confident we'll hit that target and actually then go beyond it, because we've got to then deliver the vaccine to the adult population. Now, 89%, according to Ipsos Mori, say they will take the vaccine. Really, really high positivity in the UK, highest, I think, in the world. But we've got to deliver that. And then the Prime Minister set us the next task, which is to think through, what do we do in terms of a booster jab in the autumn, if there is a vaccine required, a variant of the virus that requires that additional vaccine. And then next year, do we go to a sort of flu season type annual vaccination program? So we're doing all that thinking now and making sure we've got the manufacturing capacity now to be able to handle any variation in the virus.
One issue which I'm sure you are aware of and you need to address, social care. It's reported that around a third of social care workers have not yet been vaccinated. Is that because some are declining? Is that because they haven't had the availability? What is it, Minister?
So this is a really important question. And when we looked at the evidence, it's partly driven by accessibility. So if I take the residential care homes for the elderly and the social care workers and the care workers that work with them, and of course domiciliary care as well, part of it is accessibility. So we're going back 4 times into residential care homes to deliver the 2 doses, and to obviously, if those who can't be vaccinated for whatever reason because they had the infection, they need to wait 28 days. So hence why we go 4 times. twice for first dose, twice for second dose. That accessibility to their staff is beginning to pay off, allowing them to book on the national booking system. So I looked at this number on Saturday, and out of 264,000 bookings on the national booking system, 91,000 were from social care. So I think part of it is making sure we give them much greater access to get their appointments at a time that's convenient to them. And of course, also make sure we share the information about how safe vaccines are, that as you opened this segment saying they're good for you. When you get your appointment, take it and get yourself protected and protect your colleagues and, of course, your community.
Honestly, I promise you, Minister, me and everyone here at LBC are trying to drive that home, but you'll be aware, I think we discussed issues in Hackney a couple of weeks ago. There's issues in Leicester have been reported today, again, among the BAME. I'm sure you and your colleagues are doing everything you possibly can. What else needs to be done? I was going to say you must pull your hair out in frustration. No gags intended, I promise you, Nadhim, but it must be driving you and your colleagues nuts.
So I was in Hackney on Saturday night, because there's a brilliant group there, which is the Hatzola ambulance service for the Hasidic Haredi Jewish community.
Right.
And we vaccinated 364 people in the evening, on Saturday evening, when they can come out to be able to be vaccinated. And by the way, they weren't just doing the Hasidic Jewish community, they did Muslims as well, which is so beautiful to see the community coming together. Now, what more can we do? We can share more data with local government, which we are. So the directors of public health locally can see exactly the people who've had the first dose and are getting that protection, and then help us reach those other people that we need to reach to make sure we get those numbers as high as we can get them. Because my intention is to make sure that 89% of the adult population that say they want the vaccine will be offered the vaccine, but the 11% that skews more towards BAME communities also get the information to make that positive decision to have a vaccine which is good for them. It protects them, protects their family, protects their community.
Are you concerned, just broadening out a little bit, Minister, Nicola Sturgeon is expressing concerns, understandably, that people are getting into Scotland by routing in through an English airport. It was the first day, of course, of quarantine hotel or hotel quarantine operation. Do the rules need to be toughened up? What do you say about what appears to be a point of conflict between Westminster and north of the border?
So we work very closely, and I actually did Scottish radio this morning with the devolved administrations, and we'll continue to work closely. We've done so with supplying the vaccine. We bought the vaccine for the whole of the United Kingdom. When we've supplied it for the whole of the United Kingdom, we'll do the same to make sure we get quarantine hotels to work properly. It was the first day yesterday, as you mentioned, and I think the combination of enforcement and make sure people have filled in their pre-departure, their passenger locator form and taken their pre-departure test. And of course, they'll have to do 2 more tests when they are in quarantine on day 2 and day 8. But we'll work with the Scottish Government to make sure that if there are any loopholes, we address them. Border Force are very used to implementing at speed any changes to the rules, and they're doing that well. But we'll continue to want to improve the system, and if there are any glitches, we'll want to fix them immediately.
And is one of those glitches the fact that passengers are reportedly able to mix with other passengers upon arrival at English airports? If that is the case, what needs to be done, Minister?
So one of the things that's already being done is passengers have to observe social distancing rules, and that is being constantly enforced, and people are reminded of that. But again, it's first day was yesterday. We look to improve the system all the way through, so the passenger journey from the airport into the hotel becomes as safe and as smooth as we can make it. And of course, people are complying with it. It's worth just reminding your listeners that holiday travel is illegal, so it's only non-essential travel is illegal. It's important that people remember that, and together with this strengthening of our borders, with the vaccination program, with rapid testing and isolation, then we will begin to get our lives back and our economy back on its feet.
And here comes the final hurdle. I don't know whether you were able to watch the Downing Street briefing yesterday with the Prime Minister, but the success of a clinical trial involving the use of an arthritis drug on coronavirus patients was revealed. It could be life-saving if it's used alongside dexamethasone. The Prime Minister struggled with the name of that drug, but I know I can turn to you, Nadhim Zahawi, the Minister for Vaccine Deployment, to nail it in first go. Mr. Zahawi.
Don't go there, Nick.
I think I heard tocilizumab, didn't I, Minister?
Tocilizumab, absolutely.
Well done to you and your colleagues. Thank you very much indeed. Nadhim Zahawi appearing here on LBC, where the time is 1 minute after 8. News with Thomas Watts is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, Nicola Sturgeon's expected to make a final decision on the gradual reopening of schools in Scotland. Children aged 4 to 7 and some secondary pupils with practical coursework could return to the classroom from next week. Rebecca Wilkinson-Quinn is from the mental health charity Place to Be. She says it could be tough for families to explain why some children can go back and others can't.
It's difficult. There's no way of getting around that. I think authenticity is like the key. So being able to talk about these things, truthfully and honestly, and then help them to